Welcome to a special Fans Fight Back Fallout. Well, it's not just fans, it's myself and everybody from the boxing media industry, all sides of the table. So let me quickly run through with everybody who we've got here. There's Richard Poxon, you can see on the screen, the esteemed matchmaker, promoter. Sam Heaton, super fan of boxing. We've got Don Majewski, historian, agent, matchmaker in the sport. Ashley Theophane, member of the Money Mayweather team, world title challenger. Gareth A. Davis, the man who needs no introduction. Everybody knows what Gareth's about. Spencer Fearon, former boxer, promoter, another historian of the sport. Yeah, just an amazing lineup. And we're here to discuss the fallout of Joshua Usyk at the weekend. So what I've done is I've broken up all of the topics of conversation into something that will hopefully hit each of your buttons individually. So gents, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to host it. I'm going to start off with you, Spencer, because I know you're on a limited time restriction. So although this might be a question aimed at you, other people, feel free to jump in, feel free to add to the topic. I want to start off with the conversation that's kind of worked its way around social media, around the boxing world. As a boxer, did Joshua look okay in their Saturday night? And what would you say in terms of his training setup? And should he continue where he is?
You'd be an idiot to think that you could do the same things and get a different result. Number one. Now, what I'm saying is, and I've said this on numerous times, I believe that Anthony Joshua is trying to download too much information, because he isn't like a kid like Ashley Theophane who got on here, or even like myself, who actually grew up in boxing. He didn't grow up in boxing. It's just something that he felt and thought, well, I'm actually good at this because his cousin Benga took him down to the gym, right? So it's not something where it's like you were up constantly watching the big fights around your era, being like engrossed in watching them and stuff like that. It has to be, he wasn't a fan of the game. You know what I mean? He's a fan of the success, but he's actually not a fan of the game, so he's not a fan of the process. So there's a process that you can fall in love with. There's other people that's fall in love with the process, but haven't had the success as Anthony Joshua. So he's become an enigma to himself. And then he's been a protected enigma to a certain extent, where he wasn't exposed to certain things. He wasn't exposed to flying around the whole world and sparring with veterans, or being around certain veterans of the fight game, or being in awe of being around certain veterans and stuff like that. He hasn't had that because that's not his psyche. And as soon as it was mentioned that he needs to have boxing people around him, he did. He started to employ boxing people, but that's just to his intellect of boxing people. It would have been so great if Anthony Joshua spent some time with James Toney. It would have been excellent if Anthony Joshua went to America and did some work with Tommy Brooks. It'd be so great if these are the things like, or did some work with Mike McCallum, or being in there with these kind of guys. But boxing has evolved, and as it's evolved, people like to see the end product of a Floyd Mayweather. I think that's how we get there, or we like to see the end product of, but we don't see the steady progression what certain fighters have gone through. And because of that, I'm saying, I understand in this game, it's a very cutthroat business. So I can understand why Robert McCracken wouldn't have Anthony Joshua going here, there, and everywhere. You know why? Because he might leave him. And let's be bottom line, none of these guys ain't going to work for Anthony Joshua if it's for free. If we said, okay, you love me so much, work with me for free. They're not going to do it, right? So obviously you're going to be protective, or you're going to be protective of that golden goose, because he is a golden goose. And you have to think, from since 2012 Olympics to London, what that young man has done in 9 years is incredible. And he's done this on limited boxing ability. And it has been limited boxing. I don't care. And no one can't tell me. It's not like somebody who's been fine-tuned like Lennox Lewis has been. When Lennox Lewis went to the first Olympics in '84, come second best to Tyrell Biggs, then came back in '88 and knocks out and stops Riddick Bowe to become the Olympic champion. He hasn't gone through those processes. And that's the difference. He's had incredible success with limited ability, right? And now he's come a cropper because whoever, I would want to change my camp for whoever said like the game plan is to outbox Usyk. Are you stupid? Seriously. And I'm hearing guys earlier on here, I respect everyone's on here, who said, oh, we didn't know Usyk was that good. Yeah, I did. I knew that Usyk was going to win that fight. I knew. Plain and simple, I knew that Usyk was going to win the fight. Reason being is because Usyk is a supreme boxer. And worst ways, if Anthony Joshua, when I heard Anthony Joshua, he did a Sky interview and he said, of course I can outbox him. From when I heard that, I said, it's game over, man. You know what I mean? Seriously. I was taking out all my money. Actually, Philippe knows that we got a money system in the black community called a partner draw. I took all my partner money, pretty standard. You know what I mean? Because that's the dumbest thing and the most redundantly stupid thing that I've ever heard. That you are opting to try and box or outbox, not just a boxer. We're looking at a masterful boxer. He's not only just a masterful boxer, he's a southpaw and a masterful boxer. Come on, man.
So how does he win the rematch? Anyone out there who's got like that golden nugget, how does he win the rematch?
He sticks it on him. Go on, sorry, Gareth.
Go on, Gareth.
Right?
No, I'd add something. I don't disagree with anything Spencer said. I thought it was spot on, but there is a gun shyness about Anthony Joshua that we haven't seen before. I can't believe that was the game plan. I think Usyk forced him into gun shyness, and I think he is naturally gun shy now after the Ruiz defeat. Ashley will talk to us about this. I'm sure that it does affect you when the skills that Spencer talks about. I get it. You know, styles make fights. And outside Fury, this was the hardest stylistic fight for him in the heavyweight division. And you know, that I'm more worried about him being gun shy because I think he should fight with his sword and his shield and just go out on his shield because that's who he is. And I think that's what he needs to be. Doesn't matter if he wins 30 and loses 6. That's what he's got to be, in my view.
In the same way that when he fought Klitschko, he was down, he was up. Klitschko was down, Klitschko was up. He would have gone out on his shield that night.
That was his best performance by far. And he showed heart, guts, determination, stamina. But he was against a 40-year-old who'd already been beaten by Tyson Fury. You can make that argument. But that was his best performance, and he carried the event. He didn't carry the event on Saturday night. He wasn't focused going in there. He was fist bumping everyone. Went back to kiss a lady. Do you see Usyk visor down, straight to the ring? Would Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis have ever greeted loads of people on the way in? I think he was disfocused on Saturday night.
Don, what did you make of his kind of whole persona going into the fight?
You know, the thing is this, Anthony Joshua, he's a very good fighter. There's no question. He's not a great fighter, but he's a very good fighter. Excellent fighter. But he's the greatest attraction in the world. And, you know, there's the thing, the Peter principle. You rise to your level of incompetency, or you could say to competency. Has he mentally peaked? He's probably made $300 million by now, and a phenomenal amount of money. 60,000 people were in awe of this in America watching these crowds. Is there a point where you have to have a certain kind of fighter wants to go on after you made that money? It's not just become a millionaire, a multi-millionaire. This guy's into $100 million. How much more desire does he have? I think that has a lot to do with it. You saw the desire in Usyk. Is there desire still in Anthony Joshua? He had it to come back with Ruiz. Maybe he just peaked. You know, it's a unique guy like a Pacquiao or Roberto Duran who goes on fighting even though they have millions in the bank. It's just their nature. As you said earlier, as it was said earlier, is it in his nature, you know, to continue? Does he have enough left? He fought for money initially, he fought for fame, and now he's gone beyond his wildest dreams. It's the inner psychology, the inner emotion of the man. Does he have it?
Don, what's the US view on Joshua in the fallout of the weekend?
Well, you know, we have always a bias in America. We dismiss the heavyweights. I've been watching British heavyweights. The first fight I ever saw on TV was Henry Cooper and Muhammad Ali. It was on a Telstar satellite in '66. One thing with our British heavyweights, it's resiliency. Lennox Lewis came back after 2 knockout losses. Henry Cooper came back after losses and was always fighting for the title, was always back in the mix. Frank Bruno came back after the defeat. We saw it once with Joshua. I think that everybody felt that, you know, because we saw him, remember, he was here and his only fight here of major importance when he got knocked out by Ruiz. So we saw him get knocked out and lose. This was not as a great a defeat in terms of a knockout, but it probably was a greater defeat for him in terms that this guy, Usyk, commandeered the fight from the very beginning. He beat him on points in front of 60,000 of his fans. That's a harder thing to do than land one lucky punch and get over. I don't know. We have a tendency to think that he was overrated. The debate was on who would have won, Joshua Fury. A lot of people felt that Joshua was the better fighter. But I think it's not so much they feel that Joshua fell short, that just how great a fighter Usyk was and how underestimated he was by the crowd. He was a 2-1 underdog over here in the betting because of the size. But this goes back to all these arguments people make now that the super heavyweights of today would have crushed that generation of Ali's and Joe Louis and Dempsey. I don't think so. It shows a great smaller fighter can beat a good bigger fighter. So it's a disappointment because we thought he would win. I don't think we've written him off. I think he can come back and win the rematch.
Gareth, you live and breathe around the British media scene, the British boxing scene. Has there been a change in perception since the weekend around how Joshua will be perceived amongst the media? I mean, does it change anything?
Well, no, I think there's a transparency about the fact it's a work in progress anyway from his own team and from Rob McCracken. I think we know that. I think I go back to the fact that there were many imponderables going into this fight. Joshua didn't impose the style that we've seen in the past, that he wiped out his first 18 opponents in 44 rounds. That was a different stage of his career. He's at the elite level now. They could have ducked Usyk. We've talked about that. He could have put the belt in the bin and waited for Fury and Wilder if they wanted to go that route. Don, Spencer, Richard have seen that kind of thing before. Ashley they know what happens. People do that. People are annoyed, first of all. The fans are annoyed, first of all. But then if they get the big fight afterwards, they can do. We all wonder about the rematch because his career's in tatters, in a sense. There's still a Dillian Whyte fight, a Fury fight, and a Wilder fight there if he loses the second time to Usyk. And he could lose because he's going to have to go for it more. And he might be more exposed this time. I hope he isn't. And I hope he can get into the exchanges and be powerful and be destructive, which he is. But Usyk will know that's what's coming. He might not take the rematch and wait for Wilder and Fury. And if Fury wins, he could say, "Can I fight for the WBC belt?" And they could do that. But then then these guys all know this. They'll be saying, "Well, you get 25% and Fury gets 75%." So it'll never happen. So he's got to take the rematch, in my view. There's no other way to it. If he wins the IBO and the other 3 belts back, he's back in business and all is forgiven. 10-80-10 rule. 10% love you all the time, 10% hate you all the time, and the 80 swing in the middle. That's how I'd say the media is right now.
Okay, it's interesting.
I just think, Martin, and Don, you know this as a matchmaker. Spen, you've promoted. Ash, you're a boxer. Gareth, you work in media. Why would you, to me, and I spoke privately about this to one or two of my pals in boxing, if we were all making a fight and you got Anthony Joshua, why would you have made that match when there's a couple $100 million round the corner? It was the worst match stylistically you could have made. You couldn't have picked anybody worse to put him in with.
Look, to his credit, he's a fighter, Anthony Joshua. He's fought everyone. He had 9 defenses of the title. He lost to Ruiz, came right back, a different kind of a fight. He can't do that in a rematch with Usyk. But he's a fighter by nature. And
but Don,
he was a 2-1 favorite.
Yeah, Don, I get that. But let's just take Anthony Joshua out of it because we know that in 99% of cases, boxer's the last one who's allowed to make a decision. Why would the people around him take that fight? You've took that fight and round the corner, there's a couple of 100, 250, 300 million, $175 million. Why would you take probably one of the greatest cruiserweights, if not the greatest cruiserweight who's ever jumped into a boxing ring, who stylistically is just all wrong for you? Say again, Spen?
Second greatest cruiserweight.
Yeah, sorry, Johnny Nelson's first. Sorry. But you know what I mean? Why would you have made that fight? I just don't. When you didn't have to, you could, like Gareth just said, you could have dropped that WBO. People would have screamed for a week saying he's ducked him, and then a week later, we know how fast social media and news moves. It'd have been forgotten.
Yeah. I just think they were confident they could win. Now we can say in retrospect, overconfident, but he did go in as a big favorite. I thought it was disproportionately high, 2-1, but he was a big favorite going in, and he has in his heart he's the best fighter. It's tactically and in terms of promotion, he probably was. Obviously, it's a great mistake, but he's going in. I think Anthony Joshua perceived himself. Gareth, you can tell me you know him better than I do, that he was the best heavyweight in the world. And remember this, they had the Tyson Fury fight. That fell apart. I think there was leeriness that would ever take place. I was reading a lot of the quotes from Eddie Hearn before the fight with Usyk, that whether or not they would get the Tyson Fury and Wilder fight. What if Wilder wins? That changed the whole dynamic of the match. So I don't think they were sure they had that fight in the bag and felt that this was a safe enough fight that we can win.
Let me put it a different way, Gareth. Let me just put it a different way. And this is to Gareth, Ashley, and Spencer. If you were managing Joshua and you went, Rich, I need you to make a match for Joshua for me, and round corner we've got $250 million, and I called you up and said, I've got a great idea, we're doing Alexander Usyk, what would you honestly have said to me, Spen?
I'll put the phone down on you.
Thank you. Ash.
I felt that AJ was going to bulldoze him and just use his size and strength, and I thought he was going to win by KO. So I think a lot of his team, they believe the same thing, that AJ is just too big and strong, and that he could just run through him. But the issue is they didn't use those tactics. They tried to outbox the man that is a master boxer, and that was their downfall.
I think they wanted to bulldoze him. I mean, I was so disappointed in the corner not telling him to put elbows in, to be dirty, to push him around. And not once did he trap him in the corner. Not once did he really see him explode with combinations. And that's why I don't want to insult him by saying he's gun shy. But I think he was gun shy in the way that he went into those first few rounds thinking, wow, the way this guy moves, I'm being hit. And I'm not seeing this stuff coming. So, the long left was coming in the first round even. So I think he will regain. I think he's a special person. The dichotomy, the big debate, the big enigma around Anthony Joshua, and Spence touched on it as well, which is he's so successful as a human being. He's extraordinarily emblematic of this era. He's beautiful as a human being, as a specimen, as an Adonis. So marketability is massive for him. So he's been able to talk the talk. And now, inside himself, as Don mentioned, psychologically, he's got something still he wants to prove to himself. And I don't think he wants to back off anyone. And I think he will take the rematch, and I think we'll see it. And he'll either win, like by being bullish, or he'll get knocked out in the second fight.
Well, it's signed. The rematch is being signed. I spoke to one of his guys today, KD, and he said that the rematch is going to take place.
Yeah.
Well, so
his career's on the line.
Has agreed to take the rematch. Now, I'm saying without him taking certain implementations going into that fight for the rematch, the same thing's going to happen or maybe worse. Right?
Now, because I want to turn it all the way around now. So we've heard Richard give the scenario whereby you're a matchmaker, you're going to make that fight. What does somebody think about it? Sam, you're a fan.
Yep.
If you'd have heard Joshua is going to duck Usyk, drop the WBO, let Usyk fight Parker, what would your initial thought and longer term thought be about the Joshua legacy?
It's a difficult question because you would half expect him to not fight Usyk, simply because, as Gareth said, stylistically, you cannot imagine a worse fight in boxing, apart from Fury, than that. It's a horrible fight to take. Usyk, as we discussed the other day, is about as technically supreme a boxer as you will find anywhere on the planet. And Joshua, we know that there are limitations he has, and I would expect him not to take the fight, but I think it's what, as Don said, he's got this thing in his head where he's almost put himself into a box of his own making, because he's been marketed in a way that says he is this generation's great heavyweight. If you are this generation's great heavyweight, then when the challenges like this come up, where people think that you know, are in some way going to struggle in this fight, you almost have to take it. You almost have to do it, because if you don't, how can you market yourself in that way without people just laughing at you? And it's the thing with the rematch, like, he has to take the rematch. Like, there is no way he can't, because he took the rematch with Ruiz and beat Ruiz. Whatever you say about Ruiz's weight or anything else, he took the rematch and beat Ruiz. He has lost again, and he lost comprehensively. Now he has to do the same thing. It's a rod for his back that he's made. And that's just how it is. And if he is as great as he believes in his own mind, he will beat Usyk in the rematch, whether he can or not. I mean, he can. There is a way to do it. There will always be a way to win any fight. Will he do it? Quite honestly, I don't think so. Not if he, well, obviously not if he tries that again, but even if, like has been said, even if he tries to bulldoze Usyk, there's every chance, because he got hit hard on Saturday night multiple times by punches that not only did he not see coming, he didn't understand where they came from. And it made him even more timid. Like, he could, if you get hit by a shot you don't see and that you don't understand how it happened to you, the first thing that happens, and anybody that's done any boxing will tell you this, is you shell up and try to figure out what's going on. That's what he did. Can he find a way around that? I don't know. I mean, you want to think so, but it's a lot easier saying it than doing it.
Now I want to throw it to Ashley. So from a fighter's perspective, you've been in dozens of fights over the years, more than dozens. Many you've won, some you've lost. The ones that you've lost, have you walked away from them? Have you ever walked away from a fight and thought, I couldn't ever beat that man? If you gave me 10 attempts, I wouldn't have been able to beat him.
No, I don't think I fought anyone that good. So I would say I don't think there's anyone that I have thought I'll never beat him in a million years. But with the AJ thing, he possibly believes that he could beat him. If I was AJ, I would believe that I could win. If I was AJ and I was gonna fight Usyk, I would think I could do it. So that's why I don't blame him. Maybe he shouldn't take the rematch straight away, or he shouldn't have gone into that fight. But being AJ and being the champion he is, I know why he thought he could win.
He's supposed to. That's what you, if you're a champion, you are supposed to be like Deontay Wilder. What was it he said? One face, one name. You are supposed to believe that. Because if you don't believe that and you get in the ring with somebody like that, like Usyk, you're going to get beat up.
So do you think psychologically, Ashley, because I was having this conversation actually with Sam the other day, that the shortcomings we've seen with Joshua, which are, they've been mentioned already here tonight, looking gun shy, is his heart all there at the moment? Would he be better going a different route, let Usyk go and do whatever Usyk wants to do, make a defense? Here's my theory. Let Joshua go and fight Dillian Whyte. Let him get that rawness back, that desire, that will to go and punch someone you really don't like.
But the problem with that is that if he loses to White, then you lose Fury.
Over. And the thing is, if AJ fought the way he fought the other day against White, he would lose.
Exactly.
He would lose.
Right. It's too much to risk and too little to gain. On a pragmatic side, maybe AJ is finished. If he is finished and fights Usyk, well, he loses again. That's the end. But if he is finished and fights at Dillian Whyte, he can't get up for the fight. He gains nothing from the victory.
Exactly.
And he's completely finished. He's got to go for it. There's only the rematch for him right now, for every reason.
The order should be Usyk now. If he wins it, everything's back on track. And if he loses, they have to get Fury as soon as possible, and Wilder and White come later, because they're still there at some point, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you think he wants to stick around in boxing for that long? Because I've been thinking about this for the last sort of few weeks. I thought in the lead up to this fight that his plan would presumably be, if he beats Usyk, you fight Fury twice, regardless of the outcome of either fight. And then realistically, there's the White fight, and that's it. Because he's 32 now, and although he's not been fighting for as long as other people, he's made a lot of money. He's been incredibly successful. How much longer does he really want to keep doing it? Like, he could, like let's say he beat Usyk, and then he fought Fury and beat him twice. And White, he retires then with for this era, a remarkable legacy.
He would fight Wilder as well, though. He needs to fight Wilder.
You think he would want to fight?
Of course.
I think the bigger problem is, Sam, is even if Joshua beats Usyk, and Gareth and Donald back me up on this, even if Joshua beats Usyk, all well and good, the one who's got all the power is whoever wins next Saturday now, financially and backing the media.
Possibly.
No, I don't think Wilder will have that kind of power, because Josh will be such a great. Look, he will gone down now as a guy who is a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. That's historic. You know, he's in Lennox Lewis company with that, Ali company with that. That's a remarkable achievement. Particularly turn around. If Wilder beats Fury, he's not in the same power as Joshua. Joshua will have complete. The public forgets quickly. Remember, Pacquiao got knocked out by Marquez.
Yeah.
More than one
I
with
watched that
Bradley,
today.
and the fight was the biggest grossing fight of all time with him and Mayweather. All those losses are forgotten. No, if he wins that, I don't think Wilder had that. And Fury, you know, here's a guy 3-time champ. He'll say what he is. He's bombastic, but I think that he'll still be, you know, he'll level the playing field if he beats Usyk. That's why it's such an important fight.
I don't think, honestly, Don, I think whoever wins that fight, and Gareth, I don't know what you think, but whoever wins that fight next Saturday will believe that they've got the upper hand, even if Joshua wins that rematch. Financially, to get a deal done, the winner of Saturday's fight, whether it's Al Haymon or Tyson Fury and his people, Arum, they'll think, I'm now in the driving seat, and then it just makes getting a deal done. I think parity's gone out at window, even if Joshua wins the rematch.
But even if AJ wins, they will believe that they can beat him. So they will want to make the deal because they see him as the weak link. He's the weak link now.
Yeah, he's vulnerable.
But Rich, going back to your point, putting my Eddie Hearn hat on and immediately turning it around as if Joshua wins that, he owns 3 of the belts. The winner of Wilder Joshua only owns 1. Why do you believe the winner of Wilder Joshua has the power?
Because Joshua didn't look too good. Let's be honest. Josh didn't look good. Didn't box well.
And there's 5 months. There's 5 months gap between. They take over. The person that holds the WBC belt on October the 9th
has got a run.
Vegas, holds all the cards because they hold them for 5 months. So all the boxing chatter will be about that. The power of that champion, not the power of Usyk with 3 belts. Weirdly.
Yeah, and that's what I think, Martin. Whoever wins next Saturday now after that performance, maybe don't hold all the cards in a business sense, but has got the steam behind them.
I think they do it. They do until the rematch.
Exactly.
And if Joshua wins the rematch, that gets turned. We said we do say 80% of the fickle people go either way, and that'll turn it around again. You know, the diehards either way will say yes. But the 80% will say he won again. Let's forget the past. I think he's back on even territory. You got to win.
All is forgiven. Yeah.
I mean, he'd have to flatline Usyk for that.
Yeah,
I think if he just pokes his way to a decision, which he's not going to do anyway, we know that. But like, if he comes out and literally flatlines Usyk with the first big right hand he throws, then yeah, everything's basically forgotten. But if there's any difficulty, I suppose, then that's going to be held over his head.
Even if it's a great fight, though, a great fight,
exactly.
Absorbing chess match. If it's a great fight and he loses, all is forgiven as well. Because he has something that he hasn't shown in this fight, or really with the Andy Ruiz fight, where he just kept him on the end of the jab, 12 round.
It refills his value.
Absolutely.
Rich, one I wanted to throw your way and probably overlaps a little bit into Don, Gareth. We all know the Joshua Matchroom Sky deal has come to an end after that fight. Do you think this makes things more difficult now because he's coming off the back of a loss in terms of where he's going to end up as a broadcast platform next? Because say he'd have won it, then he could dictate terms on any broadcast platform. And from what I remember, coming off the back of the first Ruiz fight, actually going into that rematch, it was worth an awful lot more because you've got that redemption story that you didn't have in the first fight. But now it's not so much a redemption story as it is there's an awful lot of flaws and cracks that have opened up. So now, do you think it becomes lesser value to Joshua Matchroom when they go and negotiate their next broadcast deal? Or do you think it was already done anyway, pre-Saturday night?
I think it were probably already agreed and they knew where they were going next, but obviously this has thrown a huge spanner in the works for them, hasn't it? But as Don will tell you and Gareth will tell you and then Ashley will tell you, if Joshua says, like Spencer thinks, he's signed and he's doing the rematch, there will be more interest in it than before because a lot of casual fans and listen, when I go in gym, when I go going training in a normal gym, you get loads of people coming up going, oh, who is that Russian kid? I've never heard of him. And he's only a cruiserweight. There's a vast amount of swathe of people who don't actually know that much. And now that he's been lost to him, there'll be a lot more interest. So I think commercially, this rematch will be just as valuable, if not more valuable. Where it ends up as a broadcaster, I don't know, because still Sky will want it, and DAZN will want it, and maybe Amazon want it. Just chucking a name in there, I don't know, or whoever wants it. Everybody will want it because whatever publicity this fight got, and Gareth, you might tell me I'm wrong, but whatever publicity the first fight got, the second one will get miles more publicity. So that means more buys, more eyes on it, and more pay-per-views, and that's what people want.
Yeah, well, he's out on a limb, and he has to, if he's committing to this. Look, at the post-fight press conference, 20 minutes after the fight, 1 o'clock in the morning, he came in and spoke to us, and the first thing he said was, "I want the rematch. Losses are learned for me." He was very strident about it and adamant about it. You look at the TV deals. We knew that the Sky box office deal was up. They signed that in an instant with him because he always does 1 million buys. It's as simple as that. Yeah. A massive money-making machine. And look at the way Len Blavatnik, the owner of DAZN, might look at it. You could take Anthony Joshua to fight someone in Lagos, for example, and get 70 million people watching in Africa. There's those kind of, he's so marketable. I'll take you back to the very beginning. He's an incredibly successful human being. He's probably sometimes, and I feel that when I'm with him, a little surprised at his own success even, because he knew that he was just in the gym till he was 17 doing weights. And he's come all this way, but he was the perfect guy at the perfect time with Olympic super heavyweight gold in his home city to become an overnight star, and also did the same journey with Eddie Hearn in the same 8-9 years, where Hearn has grown, where Joshua has grown, where he's got a marketing team around him, a management team. He's canonically owned his own brand for so long. So at the moment, the brand and the sports ability just don't match. And that's the problem. And that's what we're really talking about. And in pure boxing terms, as Don says, at the moment, he's a good, if not very good fighter, not a great fighter. And at the moment, you can't see him being a great fighter. But he may have something special in him. You just don't know.
Yes. No, that's the second fight will be his consecration from good to great, and they'll all say that. Like everybody's saying now that Usyk, we didn't think he was that great. That will make it. And what will sell the second fight? The first fight still was 2-1, so most people thought overwhelmingly Joshua was going to win. The rematch will be. I don't even know. Well, who do you think will be the favorite in the rematch? I think it goes off like 6-5.
Usyk.
But it'll be very close. So now you got the underdog in Josh. He's got that kind of a crowd appeal. Where can he do it? It's a tremendous opportunity there to really make him into a great fighter. And I think that's going to drive his ego as well.
And what does anyone see happening post next Saturday? So Fury Wilder. Let's go with logic. Let's say Fury wins for now. Do you see? I mean, obviously we've got this delay now. So Usyk, Joshua, let's assume happens March, February, March. Do you see that by July of 2022, we see an undisputed fight?
Yeah. It depends again largely on who wins and how they win.
Yeah, I appreciate the permutations to it. So if we said it's okay, let's go with Usyk and Fury being the winners of the next two fights.
They would do that because Fury would love, for two reasons. One, Usyk will take it because Usyk is about winning the titles, as you saw on Saturday night after the decision was announced, how much it meant to him to win the heavyweight title. There is still, for boxers, there is a tremendous desire to be the heavyweight champion of the world. Secondly, Fury would absolutely love no end. I mean, most people think he's better than Joshua anyway, but he would absolutely love no end the chance to beat the man that put Joshua out of the sport and tell all the world about it. And he would do, by the way.
Gareth, you know Fury better than most. Do you think he'd fancy that Usyk fight?
He would say it's very easy, and it's not a great fight to watch, in my view. That fight.
No, I agree.
It's not a great fight to watch. I think Fury probably wins it quite easily behind the jab. He is just too big and too composed. I think that really will be a 12-round decision with not a lot of punches landing and not a lot thrown. That's the way I see it.
Market it though. That's the thing. Fury's a great marketer.
I don't know if there's there's a quarter of the appetite, in my view, from Fury and everyone else for that fight rather than Fury and Joshua.
Oh, it wouldn't be bigger than Fury Joshua because I don't think there is a fight in the sport that could be.
It wouldn't be. It's not even a 50 million fight, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So what about? And I mean, this comes over to your side, really, Dom, because we lose British interest at this time.
Right.
If it were Wilder Usyk that come out the winners.
Tyson and Tyson Fury Usyk. Wilder, that's a fight fans, aficionados fight. That could be the reason you probably could make Wilder Usyk because it'd be the cheapest of the scenarios to make because neither one is a great attraction. Although Wilder's made tremendous money, so they probably would fight each other. But it'd be a hardcore fight fan kind of a fight to watch. It'd be very provocative as to the outcome. I mean, skill level, Usyk's 10-1. The other guy does have that incredible power. He's 1 second from knocking out Fury in the first fight. That can be made. That'd be a domestic U.S. fight, I would think, unless the Ukraine came up with some phenomenal amount of money. The other two, Fury goes right back to Joshua. If they both win, that's just as big a fight. Well, slightly tainted, but just about as big a fight. Because remember, they took it the Ruiz loss, so it'd be as big a fight as before. Then you've got scenarios with if Joshua wins and then Wilder wins. I don't know about that fight. That was never made before. That'd be a little bit tougher fight because a big risk for Joshua. What does he have to gain out of that? He would vindicated himself with Usyk. I don't know if he would want to take a Wilder fight.
Dangerous.
I'll just put this out there, and Ash, you know this one. You know Al Haymon well. I would put the chances of Al Haymon putting Wilder in with Usyk at somewhere between 0 and 0.5%.
But you know what? No. That reminds me. But wait, Rich. That reminds me of the Ortiz fight. Ortiz is like the same kind of thing. He outboxed him. He was winning the fight, and he got caught. So it's kind of like the same thing. Usyk could outbox Wilder, but Wilder's got that power. However,
I agree, Ash, but Usyk's still on the way up in his prime. Ortiz let's be honest, is of an age, isn't he?
Yeah.
But if Wilder hit Usyk with that right hand that Joshua hit him with on Saturday night,
it's asleep.
Yeah. He really had talk about Joshua vindicating. So Wilder, well, we're really going ahead of the game here because he's got to beat Fury. But should he win, he still has to vindicate himself. Like Usyk fight could happen because they say, what are Wilder's options then? He's not this phenomenal attraction. He doesn't do pay-per-view numbers. So that's about the only fight he would have out there that could do. You're not going to see him fight Dillian White or something like that. I mean, they want to play it safe, but I think they've done that. He's going to have to be on a big stage. And as I said, it wouldn't take tremendous. It's not $100 million fight, but it would be something maybe easy enough to make only because the two guys are not big enough attractions. And Wilder, I think, would think he could win, as you said, with that power. That's the thing that Joshua didn't show. Where was the power there last Saturday?
But isn't it funny, though, that we're not being hypercritical of Joshua. We're just talking about the boxing game. But in all our discussions, he's still the fucking A side.
Yes.
Always will be. In every fight. In every fight, he'll always be that. Near enough.
Because he brings it. I mean, I was with Todd DeBuff on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? No, it's Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday today. Sorry, been a busy week.
Monday, Gareth, Monday.
Monday night, yeah. I was in Soho with Todd DeBuff, and he was saying, right, Joshua did lose, but we've got a new character in the heavyweight division. But as a promoter, as someone that is into events, that event, even though there was 70 minutes between Lawrence Okoli and Anthony Joshua, and they kept 68,000 people happy for an hour and 10 minutes before sweeping the line, he said that event looked incredible.
Yeah.
And it was incredible to be there. It wasn't a great card. So it's what someone brings. Billy Walker never won a title, the British heavyweight in the 60s and 70s, with one of the Brill Cream boys with all the England football team in the 60s. 9 times he sold out Wembley. I'm at Wembley at the moment. Wembley Hilton. He sold out Wembley Arena 9 times because he had heavyweight fights. He was knocked down. He got up. People wanted to see him.
Yeah.
And I think that X factor with fascination with human beings, like Ryan Garcia is a massive star in America, in my view, because of the following. So it's X factors that bring people to an event. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that I just feel that we're talking about the importance.
Well, no, he is. Joshua's still the number one in terms of marketability.
Yeah.
What percentage of that marketability got damaged on Saturday night? Or did it-
Boxing wise,
or-
a massive amount. Boxing wise, a massive amount. Marketability is probably still.
None.
Listen, it might. His Hugo Boss deal might go down a little bit, but
It might
it's
get
still
10 million,
massively
not 20.
marketable.
Yeah, but I mean, longer term, if you look at it over a 3-4 year plan, it might have gone up because in the same way that Ruiz victory in the rematch probably did more buys than because there was an apathy about, oh, he's going to beat everybody. He's going to beat everybody. When he lost and he had to go back and get redemption, people paid more attention.
He was paid £45 million to be the challenger in that one.
Fuck,
his gar-
really?
Was that his guarantee or his whole purse?
That's what I just know.
That would guarantee.
Wow.
He earned £45 million to be a challenger to win his.
Crikey.
The best paid heavyweight or any challenger in any division by miles.
It's his best purse.
Yeah.
That's-
Well,
And
that
I'll
was just
say-
a perfect storm, wasn't it? From nowhere, Saudi Arabia came in and went, we won that fight. If they hadn't have done it, what would he have earned? But it was just one of those perfect storm moments.
Well,
Gareth,
this is a
Sorry,
much
Rob.
more provocative rematch. This will draw, as I said, I think it goes off even money, something like that. People were riding off Usyk. Again, he wouldn't have been a 2-1 underdog if they didn't, but now it's a real fight. Now they'll really come out to see the fight. Now it'll be something, and again, to get the third title, to see, is he done? Can he vindicate himself? Ruiz was it was a one-off. It's like a guy won lottery. They figured it was a fluke. This isn't a fluke. Now he really has to prove himself. I think it's a great rematch. Here's my question. Where and when do you think it will be?
Yeah. February, March. Anyone better information than that?
I think if they're doing it in March, they've got it in February. They've got to go to Cardiff. It's as simple as
Yeah,
that.
it will be Cardiff, I
Will
would say.
still sell out 60, 80,000. There's no question. Unless there's other football stadiums with roofs, I'm not sure.
No, there aren't.
Does it
What
not go
about
back to
Saudi?
South? Does it not go back yet to Saudi Arabia or anywhere like that? Would
What
they
would-
not bid for it?
If they're pulling up the money.
I think they're waiting for the big one. I
Yeah.
think they're waiting for the big one. That would be dead in the water.
Because look, let's be honest as well with Usyk, different to the Ruiz rematch. I don't think any of us on this call will expect to be reading tweets about Andy Ruiz buying Usyk buying another Rolls Royce while eating 20 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Nobody will expect that. Usyk will come into the rematch in better shape or as good a shape as he did the first one. So there'll not be any of that apathy or look at him taking it serious.
But I mean, what about you say about doing it in a football stadium? Say about doing it in Saudi Arabia. I've no idea, but is the Ukraine, has that got anywhere?
Eddie, I asked Eddie Hearn at the press conference. He was adamant they wouldn't go there, but things change. Ukraine in February, it's the Crimean, isn't it? Very cold there. It depends when they've got. They need a big stadium for that because Usyk is a national hero now. He was before, but
Yeah.
they need a big place for it, and I think he'll earn more. He was telling us all last week. London's his happy place. You know,
Yeah, he wins every time he comes here.
He's comfortable here. He beat Tony Bellew up in Manchester. He beat Derek Chisora beside me here at the SSC. He's happy here. He's got a lot of
Joe Joyce.
He's got a lot of fans here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
How would you
Martin,
convince Joshua? How would you convince Joshua to go to Ukraine in February to go and get his title back or not? How would you sell that to him, Ash?
You have to give him half the country.
He's not going nowhere.
No,
It's
he's
got to
not.
be home. It's got to be home. At the end of the day, it's a rematch that he has to win against a better guy than Ruiz. Like he has to be home. He has to be home to feel safe because he can't afford to lose this fight. He can't afford.
No.
Can I throw in a curveball that was mentioned earlier but hasn't been mentioned since? What about doing it in Africa? Because if he loses this fight, I don't even know if we'll see Joshua fight again. And he's always spoken of his desire to fight in Africa.
That's all.
You know, you'd have
Could
to have
Nigeria
a-
put money on Gareth?
That's all about Len Blavatnik, the owner of DAZN, who's worth 35 billion or whatever,
Right.
putting up enough money to make it happen there. But if it all depends on their business strategy towards globalization with DAZN at the moment. You know, we're hearing that they're buying BT Sports, so throwing that discussion in the works tonight as well, because I know people probably want dinner at some point, or if they haven't had it already. But I'm looking forward to dinner. And a couple of tequilas. But yeah, I just think I threw it in there. It's something I thought about because DAZN are the ambitious ones giving all the money, you know. But there's a platform for him every time he fights it for at least 2 or 3 more fights in the UK that makes big money and still sells out a stadium. Because people, we're not talking about boxing fans going there anymore. Some of them are, obviously. People are going for a night out. They're going to be at the event. They were there, they got the brochure, they got the program, they got pictures there. They were there in that moment when everyone sang. That's how, if boxing fans had been there and had no fights for 70 minutes between Lawrence Okoli and they'd have been banging their feet on the floor. You know?
If that had been a York Hall.
Yeah, they'd been started banging the floor until they brought 2 fighters out. Or they'd
throw the chairs upstairs.
Put the crowd into the ring, toss some coins in there and said, fucking fight.
Yeah.
All right, so final one. I want to ask everybody, who wins the rematch? Well, we'll start with that, actually. It's a penultimate one. I've just changed my mind. We'll start my top left. Sam, who wins the rematch?
Usyk by stoppage in the middle rounds. I think Joshua will come out aggressive because he has to. He's not defensively the best fighter in the world anyway, and he probably, when you walk into punches you don't see coming, they double the effect. And if he's doing that for 6 or 7 rounds, it's going to take its toll, and probably not stoppage in the sense that he gets knocked out cold, but probably stoppage because he just gets beat to the point where he can't carry on.
Rich?
Draw.
Ooh.
What about
set up the trilogy?
I was going to say, are we going to see a third on that basis, you reckon?
No chance. If he
Ash?
wins, he's never fighting him.
Who wins the rematch?
So, for me, I think that AJ should do a camp in America. I've been saying this for years. I know 7 years ago, he wanted to go over to America, and I know he wanted. So I think at the start of his pro career, he wanted to train in the USA. I don't know if he ever got to do that, like as a pro, because I know he wanted to do that. So I think that's one thing that Lennox Lewis has said that I agree with. He should set up camp in the USA and get a new training team over there. That's what I think he needs. Because in this rematch, he needs to be aggressive. He can't box the way he boxed like his last 2-3 fights. He has to go out and bring back the old OJ. So I think he needs a new coach, and I think he should base himself in the USA, getting real hard work in the gyms. That's what I think. So I want him to win, but I think for him to win, he has to be at his best.
So similar to Fury going over and getting Sugar Hill.
Yeah. Like, go over there and get a new coach and add to your game, because it's weird. What he's doing over here is like he's I like how he's like, he wants to learn, and it's learning. You're world champion now. You are at the elite. Like, even though you never stop learning, but you're not a child no more. You're in the deep end. So I think his team, they can't bring him on no more. I think he still can be better than what he is, but I think he needs a new coach in the USA.
Can I predict that won't happen? Purely on
it won't happen. He won't. He's too loyal. Like, it's all good to be loyal, but sometimes you could be too loyal, and that affects yourself, your own growth. So I think for AJ to get the best out of himself, I think that he needs a coach in America, and he should do his camps in the USA. That's what I feel.
Given McCracken missed the first few weeks of camp because he was out with the Olympic team in Tokyo, that would have been the perfect opportunity to go and decamp to America, go and do some work over there.
Yeah, but I know with AJ, I know he has some pad men like here in his camp, and I think I kind of don't blame the loss on Robert. I think that some of the pad men he has around him, it's them who's got him to box more, and that's why he brought them in.
The likes of Angel Fernandez.
Yes, to make him box and to be more fluent. So when we see AJ doing that, it's more that coach that has helped him to do that style. But that's not Rob. So it's the new coaches he's brought in. It's them guys who have added to that kind of be more loose and try and box more. That's not AJ. That's not AJ. Make AJ not being rude, but he's an ABC type of guy. Get him to do what he does best. Make him the best at that. That's all you have to do, and you'll go out and do it.
All right, Gareth, so I can free you up to go and have some steak and tequila.
What, on the same plate?
Absolutely. I love it. Well, it'd be fish and tequila, actually. But I'm going to take on further than what Ashley just said, which is in that sports scientific setup he's in the English Institute of Sport. And certainly in my time, in 30 years covering sport, that I know what I've read about people, he's the most sports scientific fighter we've ever seen. His sweat's monitored, the lighting in his room, his meals, and it's all brilliant, but it's gone as far as it can go. And he's too light, in my view. He should be bigger. I want him to be a destructive force. I've known the kid for 10 years, 11 years. He's an amazing human being. I would like him to still keep his relationship with Rob McCracken, but I would like him to go on a journey from this because he will have had a massive wake-up call in his life. He's a very brave person on the outside. He's a great winner, but he's a great loser as well. And I want to see him go away and work with other people, learn some street smarts, learn how to hit people with your elbow in the side of them, that the old black fighters used to do in America, to turn the elbow and hit them on the side. Just a few tricks. So he's when he's on, just help him to fight. Get him in the gyms and let him fight, not have fed sparring partners up at the EIS and he's the big I am. And he is the big I am. As I said earlier, I think he's an amazing human being. I want him to win for the future of boxing. I want to see Fury and Joshua. It's the biggest event I'll ever cover in my career with two Brits. I can't wait for it. I've been so excited about it. So take a good look, see what needs to change. He's clever enough to know that something needs to change. And I hope he does do it. And I hope he goes over there. I think it will be a closer fight this time. I still think it might go the 12 rounds. My head says Usyk will just pick the decision in the second fight. But I really want Joshua to go over there and really be competitive, because I didn't see AJ really competitive in that fight. And that's so critical to say from a seat when I haven't taken a punch in the face, you know. But I'd love to see him do it because I think we all would, you know.
Yeah. And finally, Don, how do you see the rematch?
I like Joshua to slug his way to a decision. This is his defining moment. This is his legacy. He's got to. I think this fight means more to him winning than it does to Usyk. Not to say Usyk, I think Usyk's still the greater fighter, regardless of the outcome of the rematch. But this is his whole life is the win, getting this title back. I think that will define him for the rest of his life. Yes. Historically, you always say, you know, and when there's an upset and a great fighter loses to an underdog, they generally ruin the rematch, like Ali did with Spinks, like Ray Robinson always did, like Lewis did with Schmeling. But also, on the other hand, when you have a great fighter who's underestimated the first time and they make him the underdog, like Spinks beating Holmes or Monzo knocking out Benvenuti, then that great fighter can rise to it. I think that, you know, Usyk is a great fighter. I think everything's on the line for Joshua. I think it's a defining moment, particularly in England, with 60,000, 70,000, or in Great Britain behind him this time. He's got to win. He's got to win for the life of his career, for everything going down. He'll be measured by that for the rest of his career.
Don, but does he change some things, Don? But does he need to change some things?
Oh, 100. He's got to go out and fight. Like you said, he's got to ball his way.
I mean, within his team, maybe, or go to gyms like Ash is saying.
I think any kind of exposure, any kind of education he gets other places, fine. I don't blame the trainer. I don't blame McCracken for him losing. It comes down to AJ, whatever happened there. But I think he's got to, whatever he can draw from, whatever trainers he can come with. They're here, they're there. He should come over to the States, get himself exposed to different things. I was told the story today that a guy in Russia, they wanted a sparring partner for him. They were offering the guy $1,000 a week. He's making $20 million. They're trying to scrimp and save on sparring. Are they crazy? You know, he's the star, but you got to do everything to win this rematch. And it's getting advice from other trainers and coming to the States and listening to him. Absolutely. And Jeff McCracken shouldn't be insecure enough to say, I'll let him talk to anyone. We just got to win this fight, and whoever's advice and whoever's help and whoever's knowledge is going to make that happen, we're going to take advantage of that.
I've said it for a bit, and I hope I'm proven wrong. But I've said for a while, I think inside Joshua's camp, I think Joshua's got a bad case of the yeahs, as I like to call it. I don't think there's anybody in there who says no, that's a bad idea. I just think he gets yeah, great idea. Yeah, that were good. Yeah, you look fantastic. Yeah, do that. I don't think there's anybody there saying no, I don't think that's a good idea. Because let's be honest, they're all on the money train, and everybody's earning a fortune. Who wants to be the one who says, "No, these are all bad ideas"?
Yeah,
Somebody
Right.
has to.
I appreciate all your input. Let's get back together again before February, before March, whenever it is. See if there have been changes made. See if perceptions have changed. See if your guess for who's going to win changes. But for now, on behalf of Pitch Boxing, thank you, Sam, Richard, Ashley, Gareth. Go and enjoy your fish and tequila. Don, enjoy America. I thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Spencer as
Brilliant.
well. He's not here any longer. But yeah, thank you all.